today, my administration has issued renewed warnings that based on evolving intelligence, Russia may be planning a cyber attack against us. And as I said, the magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential, and it's coming. The federal government is doing its part to get ready, but under U.S. law, as you all remember, the private sector, all of you, largely decides the protections that we will or will not take.
Greetings, superior beings, greetings, supreme being, we are all the human race, our common enemies, death, welcome on play. I'm Ulrich Hoffman, and this is the broadcast. Biden warns of Russian cyber attack against US. Quote, it's coming, unquote. Withdraw your savings now. So, I've jotted some stuff down. Global 2000s, the Cobden Club Memo, Agenda 21 and 2030 of the Luciferian United Nations, the Rockefeller lockstep scenarios for the future of technology and international development, Event 201, the sparse document Cyber Polygon, and their false flag attacks and supposed, quote, predictions, unquote, like you will owe nothing, and Schwab's comprehensive cyber attack prediction that will make the COVID-19 crisis look like a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack, and cyber attack on the global financial system exercise held in Israel with 10 countries hosted by Israel make clear this is all part of a genocidal agenda, premeditated genocide. It's clear that a cyber attack on the global financial system, power supply and internet will cost millions of lives. Also, the fact that they know that this cyber attack is going to happen with great certainty and that they have not taken steps to secure the global financial system, the power supply and internet, make clear this is a premeditated genocidal cyber attack. If they don't simply repair the damages from this cyber attack and declare martial law and confiscate everything people own, instead it makes clear this was premeditated and the people that did this and that profit from it are guilty of treason, premeditated global genocide, crimes against humanity. And the banks would profit from this, of course. They only have 3% of that fiat currency, so most of that is virtual, fake. If people would run to the bank now, if everybody would try to take the money out of the bank, they'd only have 3% of that money. Withdraw all your savings from your bank account, only leave money to pay the bills, store water, which will not be available anymore after a cyber attack brings the power supply to a complete halt, because the electrical pumps of the tap water won't function anymore. Buy storable food, rice, peanut butter, fruit and vegetables in pots, medical supplies, protection, helmet, bulletproof vest, etc. and fossil fuels like natural gas and cancer-causing gasoline. So now we can watch the rest of that video. It's originally on MSN. Joe Biden warns Russia may use chemical weapons and plan cyber attack in US. Credit White House. President Joe Biden has warned that Vladimir Putin's, quote, back is against the wall, unquote, and he may be preparing to use chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine. Mr. Biden also warned that Russia could be preparing to launch cyber attacks against critical infrastructure amid the war in Ukraine. The US President said the administration has issued, quote, new warnings that based on evolving intelligence, Russia may be planning a cyber attack against us. Well, with previous wars we didn't see that happen either. And of course they have a kill switch prepared Anyway, the magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential and it's coming, unquote. So let's watch that whole video from the beginning.
But because our response is working, because Ukrainians are, but because our response is working, because Ukrainians are fighting so valiantly and using the equipment we've given them, and the United States alone has committed over $2 billion to NATO. The idea that they don't have enough sophisticated equipment is just simply not accurate. And I'm not going to take the time to go into all the detail here, but the point is they have every equipment, every piece of equipment that makes rational sense based on our military and NATO's military.
He sounds kind of weak. I want to switch to the other source. This one over here. Okay. What was the point that I wanted to make? Oh yeah, there are 5 ways, of course, to prevent this cyber attack. 5 ways you could end this war. Zelensky could surrender, saving millions of lives and preventing World War III, mutually assured destruction. The Earth spinning off axis, it's already wobbling. They've never set off that many nukes simultaneously before. So Zelensky could surrender, stop sanctioning and let Putin invade. The other countries, including NATO, could say we don't do anything about it to avoid World War III. And what did they do about Crimea? Putin's invasion in 2014. Putin should pull back the troops and not invade Russia. Also, we read on Google News. Global outrage grows over Putin's merciless attacks in Ukraine. Anchorage Daily News yesterday. Let's see if I can get that on the screen pretty fast. Yeah. "100,000 civilians trapped in Mariupol amid Russia's, quote, constant bombing, unquote," says Zelensky. Why is that between quotation marks? Is there no constant bombing? Only Zelensky claimed that. And this is that global outrage grows over Putin's merciless attacks in Ukraine. So they should arrest Putin. Novichok Putin, the war criminal, should be arrested, and not the innocent Russian, American, and European people punished with sanctions, which is what they're doing to escalate this into a world war for their premeditated genocidal cyber attack on the global financial system. Jesuits, Masons, Bilderbergers. I've covered it all in previous broadcasts. And that's just my opinion about this. So you won't hear it anywhere else. Well, some people may tell you the truth about it as well. I've studied this for 20 years, this global premeditated population reduction, including the 50 shocking population reduction quotes on the Future channel on YouTube. And people should press charges and remove the illegal Georgia Guidestones, which indirectly incite to commit genocide to maintain global population at around 500 million. So the order is their cyber attack, then declaring martial law to confiscate everything people own. They will own nothing. So the New World Order can rent it back to the people. But we were going to watch that whole broadcast. Also, I want to show this one first. Sociable.ca. Sociable.co. I think it's .co. The Sociable Israel hosts cyber pandemic exercise simulating a cyber attack on global financial system with 10 countries, IMF, World Bank and BIS. Quote, collective strength, unquote, simulated attack on the financial sector is a continuation of global efforts to prepare the public and private sectors for a coming cyber pandemic that would wreak havoc over all of society perspective. So instead of making preparations to prevent it, for example, decoupling the power grid from the internet, they have other preparations to accumulate wealth and power for themselves and genocide the global population, obviously. So obviously a vaccine of which the long-term effects have never been tested, that contains gene-drive mass extinction technology, 170 global groups want a moratorium on, ban CRISPR-Cas9, gene-drive technology because it can cause extinction of all species, not just the human race, but easily hop to other species. Of course, may never be allowed, not even after declaring martial law, and people may not be extorted. You can't say, well, you have to take this jab of which the long-term effects have never been tested if you want that basic income. Because they can't guarantee that everybody will not die from that in the long term, for example, due to autoimmune disease. You're skipping millions of years of evolution. At least that's a possibility, and I've covered the gene drive technology more in depth in previous broadcasts, so that's not what I'm going into now. I'm just making the point that it would be unlawful to make it mandatory if it concerns gene drive technology and new jabs of Bill Gates, of which the long-term effects have never been tested. And they cannot disprove that everyone will die from it in the long term either, because they've never tested the long-term effects. And if it would be effective, then the people who don't take it cannot contaminate the vaccinees anymore. So then everybody should get that basic income, no medical discrimination. Do you know who also medically discriminated the people? Hitler, Mao and Pol Pot. If you are not if you're not for medical choice, you are for medical tyranny. Like Mao, Hitler and Pol Pot. So the 10 countries that engaged in this cyber attack exercise are Austria, Germany, Israel, Italy, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Thailand, the United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom and the United States. And this was 3 months ago, December 10th, 2021. So crypto will also be gone after that when the internet is gone. Before that, Schwab gave the opening remarks at the Cyber Polygon 2021 Cybersecurity training exercise in July. A comprehensive cyber attack, Klaus Schwab warned about it. It was his quote, prediction unquote, comprehensive cyber attack which would bring a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services and our society as a whole. So if intel agencies are involved in this, they should be arrested. Their job is to protect and serve the taxpayers. Also, if they want to impose a new world order after this, and that's their goal, then they're guilty of treason. They are supposed to protect the US against enemies, foreign and domestic, and people that want to get rid of the US are not a friend of the US, obviously. So they must be prevented from doing the cyber attack by whatever means necessary. I can also show that Cobden Club memo before we watch that whole video to get important information out there. Cobden Club memo circulated at Eco 92 Earth Charter, more evidence of genocide agenda. Wednesday, 20th of October 1999. Confidential Cobden Club Secretariat for World Order. September 20th, 1991. Initiative for Eco 92 Earth Charter. The pressing need. Time is pressing, blah blah blah. The Club of Rome was founded in 1968. Limits to Growth was written in 1971. Committee of 300 is the subversive body of the Club of Rome. Global 2000 was written in 1979, but insufficient progress has been made in population reduction. That's nonsense. The Earth is not overpopulated, and they have their carbon tax game of Al Gore, paid by George Soros, just another guise under which they're doing the global genocide, the population reduction agendas, saving the dead planet Earth instead of the people. Given global instabilities, including those in the former Soviet bloc, the need for firm control of world technology, weaponry and natural resources is now absolutely mandatory. The immediate reduction of world population, according to the mid-1970s recommendation of the Draper Fund, must be immediately effected. The present vast overpopulation, which is a lie. 8 billion people are sustainable. They'd fit into Australia, have their own piece of land and more than enough to eat if they divide the Earth's wealth equally among men, and the rest of the world would be uninhabited. Also, the video How to Beat the New World Order, and Jensen and others made it clear. Makes clear they're genocidal, they should be arrested, not applauded. The present vast overpopulation, now far beyond the world carrying capacity, cannot be answered by future reductions in birth rate due to contraception, sterilization and abortion, but must be met in the present by the reduction of numbers presently existing. This must be done by whatever means necessary. Okay, the people who wrote this and the people who are behind this should be arrested. Their job is to protect and serve us, not to tyrannize us into submission with directed energy weapons and to genocide us all. And according to that illustration on citizens.action.network on Facebook, the Jesuit military order controls all intelligence agencies and are all Masonic, Luciferian. Luciferian United Nations is in on this. They have blocked the request of a moratorium on gene drive technology by 170 global groups, many professors, doctors, scientists and others. They were at the Luciferian United Nations convention about that. Okay? So what are the people gonna do when they're put in concentration camps made from their own home after martial law is declared over that Cyberattack, and then they can put American people in worker camps under Executive Order 11,000 under federal supervision to build big, better Bill Gates' compact container cities. So we have to prevent that scenario. In previous broadcasts I've made clear one alternative is Blue Force tracking, killer drones and Talon robots that shoot the people if they would break their home quarantines, to not put people in genocidal green zone concentration death camps, the CDC shielding approach, webpage that I've covered. Because it makes clear that approach, putting people in risk group camps where 50 risk group people are concentrated together, which is what the word concentration camp is derived from, concentrating certain groups of people in camps, that can lead to an increase in morbidity and mortality. So that's why it's unlawful to implement it after declaring martial law, to displace the populace. There is no empirical evidence whether this approach will increase, decrease, or have no effect on morbidity and mortality during the COVID-19 epidemic in various humanitarian settings. And of course, the word camps is found in this document, throughout the document. I am showing this. This is on cdc.gov's website. And the document is titled Interim Operational Considerations for Implementing the Shielding Approach to Prevent COVID-19 Infections in Humanitarian Settings. What they used to call it Blue Force Situational Awareness. Blue Force tracking can be implemented, and there's no need to displace people, to separate families, for example, the risk group people, everybody older than 60, and the immunocompromised. Outlined in guidance documents focused on camps, displaced populations, and low resource settings. 1, 2. Green zones should be more spacious in terms of shelter area per capita than the surrounding camp sector, even at the cost of greater crowding of low-risk people. And of course, then they all use the same toilets. So guess what's gonna happen? I mean, it's not hard to predict. When you put all these risk group people together in concentration camps made from their own homes and schools, etc. Let's see, and then what are they going to use for schooling? School closures. A group of shelters such as schools, community buildings. That's about the camp sector level, the 50 high-risk individuals per single green zone maximum. But now we'll really switch to that video that I want to show, the whole video. We were already playing that, so I'll take it from there.
And to be able to do what they're doing. They're wreaking havoc on the Russian military, whether it's their tanks or their helicopters or their aircraft. And if you notice, they've just launched their hypersonic missile because it's the only thing that they can get through with that absolute certainty. It's, as you all know, it's a consequential weapon, but with the same warhead on it as any other launched missile, it doesn't make that much difference, except it's almost impossible to stop it. There's a reason they're using it. And now Putin's back against the wall. He wasn't anticipating the extent or strength of our unity. And the more his back is against the wall, the greater severity of the tactics he may employ. We've seen it before. He's run a lot of false flag operations. Whenever he starts talking about something he thinks NATO, Ukraine, or the United States is about to do, it means he's getting ready to do it. Not a joke. You may recall, I said this to a few of you this morning, that I was able to declassify a whole range of operations that they were about to engage in without sacrificing sources and methods. And it was able to give everybody clear notice what was about to come, and to convince a lot of our friends around the world that we know what they're about to do. And so his back is against the wall, and he's talking about new false flags he's setting up, including he's asserting that we, America, have biological as well as chemical weapons in Europe. Simply not true. I guarantee you. They're also suggesting that Ukraine has biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine. That's a clear sign he's considering using both of those. He's already used chemical weapons in the past, and we should be careful what's about to come. He knows there'll be severe consequences because of the united NATO front, but the point is, it's real. And what I want to mention very quickly with you all is one of the tools he's most likely to use, in my view, in our view, is cyber attacks. They have a very sophisticated cyber capability. I've had, as they say in southern Delaware, where they are very religious, we've had an altar call, he and I, on this issue. We've had a long conversation about if he uses it, what would be the consequence. But the point is that he has a capability. He hasn't used it yet, but it's part of his playbook. And I've warned about the potential for Russian conduct to malicious cyber activity in response to the cost we'd impose with our allies and partners on the world. But look, today my administration is issuing new warnings that based on evolving intelligence, Russia may be planning a cyber attack against us. And as I said, the magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential, and it's coming. The federal government is doing its part to get ready. But under U.S. law, as you all remember, the private sector, all of you, largely decides the protections that you will or will not take in order to protect your sources. But let me be absolutely clear about something. It's not just in your interest that are at stake with the potential use of cybersecurity. It is the national interest at stake. And I would respectfully suggest it's a patriotic obligation for you to invest as much as you can in making sure, and we will help in any way, that you have built up your technological capacity to deal with cyber attacks. But because our response is working,
we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by go. You know the thing. The idea is we hold these truths self-evident. That all men and women. We haven't lived up to it completely, but we've always widened the arc.
So this is effing horror, and how can we prevent this? If you know, let me know via Skype, Prologic999. How to survive this, perhaps by not being at home when the military go door to door like the Nazis, and taking off storable food and stuff. Perhaps survive in a jungle somewhere, perhaps in Mexico. And it's totally unlawful, premeditated global genocide. That's what I say. And then others can come with stuff to disprove it to me, but they don't have that. Because everything makes clear it's totally premeditated. They've thoroughly prepared this global population reduction to 500 million. An imposition of a satanic Luciferian totalitarian global government, New World Order, which of course was also pursued by Adolf Hitler, Neuordnung, Third Reich, remember, and he was, according to online sources, a Knight of Malta like Joe Biden, who also spoke out in favor of such a totalitarian New World Order. And perhaps once they have that, they can selectively nuke the people away, because then mutually assured destruction won't occur anymore. And the New World Order can decide. So my tip is arrest Novichok Putin, the war criminal. I was going through these 5 ways to prevent this world war. Surrender Zelensky, stop sanctioning and let Putin invade. Putin, pull back the troops, do not invade. avoid further escalation into a world war with mutually assured destruction as a possible outcome, turn Ukraine into a neutral zone, and arm 40 million Ukrainians. Then the million Russian troops wouldn't stand a chance anymore. Ukraine would become Vietnam. It already is, you could argue. So Putin, Zelensky and Biden are all Zionists, and they may all be in on this. So they're not taking steps to save the maximum number of human lives, to protect and serve the tax-paying citizens, to avoid this cyber attack, but they're doing everything to make it happen. I've been trying to recover that source. There's an online source, mainstream media, that claimed that Zelensky is refusing to turn Ukraine into a neutral zone, give Ukraine neutral status like Switzerland. That could also end this war. So replacing them with competent leaders is one way to end this war. For example, by arresting them to prevent this genocidal premeditated cyber attack on the global financial system, obviously to impose the totalitarian cashless society so they can turn off our crypto GovCoin remotely and say, well, you can't buy products with sugar, it's bad for you, no more chocolate, etc., no more meat, no more cadaver eating, and no more cancer-causing gasoline. People may not own a car, they may not own a house, they have to live in a little container, pods. So what did Senator Sam Parker write about that? I will not live in the pods. I will not eat the bugs. I will not kill the babies. I will not genocide the old people. I will not get the vaccine. You'll drink the poop and you'll be happy. Sam Parker at Sam Parker Senate on Twitter. So you can verify that for yourselves. Also Dutch politician Baudet made clear he won't take it, but aren't they all control the position? All these politicians. And we can wonder how many of them are Freemasons. Some of them are certainly Bilderbergers. Like Bill Gates, for example. Klaus Schwab was on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group. And the Dutch Prime Minister Rutte is a Bilderberger. They've replaced Hugo de Jonge, also Bilderberger, with Ernst Kuipers, the health minister now in the Netherlands. So how are we going to prevent this cyber attack on the global financial system, the internet and the power supply? Which would mean that people can't flush the toilet anymore either when the electrical pumps of their tap water are not functioning anymore because of the hacked power supply. Then they'll need a tin to put the poo in, a Putin, and a bidet won't work anymore either. So that's gonna give major problems, and then they want to declare martial law over that. I'll have to turn off my alarm. Dismiss. I paid my bills. Of last month, I ordered a ticket to go to Mexico, and that $1,400 we got from Biden will not cut it. And owning nothing, I think, is not an option, not a realistic option. That's why I refer to Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum as Klaus Schwab, but I have 2 or 3 other reasons. For example, he talked about it changes you when you take genetic editing as an example. And that video is on this channel, play on YouTube. So what else can I cover on this channel? I think I want to leave it here. Don't want to make it too long, just the most important stuff. Of course, we can read people's reactions to this online. Switch to Google News. Let's search on Cyberattack. That's one word, some write it as 2 words. How you should prepare for a cyber attack. Gens5.com 12 hours ago. FBI quote concerned about Russian cyber attacks on critical US infrastructure. ABC News 13 hours ago. Israel says government sites targeted by cyber attack. Al Jazeera English 8 days ago. How to prepare your business for a cyber attack. So at least they should decouple the power supply from the internet, right? There's no need to keep that hooked up to the internet. And you could argue they're already accomplices to genocide if they don't make preparations and disconnect the power supply from the internet. It uses a vulnerability, supposedly, or build a sort of wall so that that vulnerability cannot be used to switch off our power supply in Europe and in the US and worldwide. It's clear they want to do this worldwide, not just in the US and Europe. Also from the exercise, cyber attack on the global financial system. So I wonder if there's anybody that still has their savings in the bank, like millionaires with more than $1 million or euros on their bank account. Warn those people. We must all help to warn them, to minimize the damages, to increase the number of survivors. The less they can enslave us with this time-traveling synthetic telepathy machine, which will never become the creator of heaven and earth. What would a cyber attack on the US look like? CBS Minnesota. US government clients unaffected by WSET cyber attack. DefenseNews.com. Cyber attack on Toyota's supply chain shuts its 14 factories in Japan for 24 hours. How to protect your devices against the cyber attack. WSET 17 days ago. No cyber attacks yet, but Russian threat remains, experts say. News Nation now 13 days ago. I also reported about Reuters reporting that Britain warned about a cyber attack. It's braced for Russian cyber attack, Britain says. Let's see if that loads. Braced for Russian cyber attacks as Ukraine crisis deepens, Britain says. I covered that as well, January 28th, 2022. Israel says government sites targeted by cyber attack. Israel's defense establishment says blah blah blah. We can read this. And this is dated 15th of March. Today's 23rd. I have to start up the text-to-speech engine, and I clicked on 2 other sources which are not working somehow. You don't have permission to access. I cannot use my VPN at the moment to switch to the US, for example. And WSET.com is also forbidden, though it's Google News. So they pretend to be a democracy and that they want to solve it together, but in reality everything they do indicates the opposite is true. I'm trying to select the text to do a search on how to protect your devices against the cyber attack. What we can do perhaps is use cached pages while we read the other article. It seems to be kind of hanging, so bear with me. This way it should work.
Israel says government sites targeted by cyber attack. Israel's defense establishment says it is not immediately clear who is behind what may be the largest ever cyber attack on the country. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett speaks during the Cyber Week event at the Tel Aviv University. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett speaks during a Cyber Week event at Tel Aviv University in July 2021. File, Gideon Markovich/AFP, published on March 15, 2022. March 15, 2022. Israel says its government websites were hit by a cyber attack, but services have since been restored. The websites of the Ministry of the Interior, the Ministry of Defense and others were affected on Monday. Keep reading. Iran says Israeli sabotage on Fordo nuclear plant foiled. List 2 of 4 Pegasus, flying on the wings of Israeli cyber-tech diplomacy. List 3 of 4 cyber attack on ICRC exposes data on 515,000 vulnerable people. List 4 of 4 Meta bans cyber mercenaries that targeted 50,000 people. End of list. In the last few hours, a denial of service (DOS) attack has been identified on a communications provider which, as a result, has for a short time prevented access to a number of sites, including government sites, Israel's National Cyber Directorate said on Twitter. As of this hour, all the sites are back for activity, it added. In DOS, attackers overwhelmed their victims' servers with a flood of data requests to paralyze them. The government-funded directorate that oversees cyber defenses, in a report published last year, said it had witnessed a dramatic increase in the scale and quality of cyber attacks worldwide and in Israel. The Israeli Daily Haaretz said a source in the country's defense establishment believed it was the largest ever cyber attack launched against the country. Israel's Ministry of Communications said it conducted an assessment of the situation with the emergency services, following a widespread cyber attack on government websites. It was not immediately clear who carried out the hack. Previous hacks on Israeli websites have been attributed to attackers linked to Iran. Iran and Israel have been locked in a shadow war that includes cyber attacks as well as the targeting of physical sites. https://www.kins5.com.
So the other page won't load with cached pages either. As you can see here. So that's WSET.com. Not loading, and then I'll try the other one. Nope. So this link is loading somehow, so let's read it then. Sunday, March 6th, 2022, how to protect your devices against a cyber attack. Lynchburg.
Lynchburg, VA. Lynchburg, VA. WSET, a cybersecurity expert, is sharing steps you should take to protect yourself from a potential cyber attack. Hackers are already trying to break through, according to cybersecurity expert Randy Marconi. He said they're seeing an increase in probing, which means hackers are looking for computers with low security. We know from our logs we can see where the probes are coming from, and so right now, we're just blocking those, Marconi said. See also, a free-for-all but no crippling cyber attacks in Ukraine war. Marconi said there are ways to protect yourself. One thing you can do is change all of your passwords, and not just the ones on your computer. He said the longer the password, the better. Cameras, Ring doorbells, your Wi-Fi routers. My advice is changing those device passwords immediately, he said. His other advice, the longer the password the better. Second, keep an eye out for suspicious activity. When you log in to certain devices, you'll see when your last login was, Marconi said. Always look at that if you've got that information. See also, Sen. Warner expects Russian cyber attacks in coming days. Finally, he said to separate work from home. I recommend you set up a separate account your machine, and that's what you use for work, and it's separate from your home stuff, Marconi said. Marconi said it's also a good idea to make sure you turn on multi-factor authentication on anything that gives the option. When you sign in, you will be asked to confirm your identity through a text message, email, code, fingerprint, or Face ID.
So here you can see Russia, quote, successfully tests, unquote, its unplugged internet. BBC.com, 24th of December 2019. So that's what we should also do. We should have an off-the-grid or an intranet that is not connected to the global network like they do. So they have a reserve internet. I covered this in previous broadcasts already as well. Technastic also has an article on this.
How to protect your devices from cyber attacks by December 1, 2021 in web. If you're like most people, you use a few different devices every day. From your desktop. How to protect your devices from cyber attacks by December 1, 2021 in web. If you're like most people, you use a few different devices every day. From your desktop computer and laptop to your mobile phone and tablet, having access to the digital world has become so important. After all, you need internet access to stay connected to friends, family, and co-workers, but you also use the internet for recreation and shopping. While this is great and convenient, however, it can leave you vulnerable to cyber attacks. A good VPN service can also help you keep your device safe and protect your privacy. The harsh reality is that cybercriminals are out there, and cyber attacks happen all the time. Everyone is at risk, so taking steps to protect yourself is key. But how can you go about protecting your devices from cyber attacks? Keep reading for a few tips. In this article, hide 1. Be careful about the people you interact with online. 2. Update your device's software. 3. Take simple steps to protect your devices. Be careful about the people you interact with online. Social media has made it easier than ever to connect with people from all over the world.
Well, one thing people can do is switch off their computer, disconnect it from the internet. And there's also an app to switch off the internet. Internet off, it's called. It's one word, internet OFF. And with it, people can right mouse click on the icon. And then you see internet's turned on, and then you can click on turn off the internet. If I do that now, then of course my live stream would end. So I'm not going to do that. But preventing is our best option. And repairing it after this happens, there's no need to declare martial law to pretend it's all far worse than it is in reality.
While this can be a good way to gain new relationships that add value to your life, it might also lead you to people who have bad intentions. Therefore, taking care to ensure you are interacting with people who are safe and sincere is key. How can you protect yourself against becoming involved with cyber criminals or scammers online? Well, you can use Number to look up information about a new friend you have met. Doing so can help you confirm that they are indeed who they claim to be. And the nice thing about this site is that you can also use it to verify the identity of anyone who sends you an email if you aren't sure if you should trust the message or not, so it can come in handy in other ways as well. Update your device's software. Another way to protect your devices against cyber attacks is by keeping them up to date. It might be a little annoying when you get those notifications that an operating system or app needs to be updated, but try not to ignore them. Updates might include fixes to problems, and might help make the operating system or app more secure against the latest cyber threats. If you want to make your life easier, consider turning on automatic updates so they will take place whenever it's necessary. That way, you won't need to worry about missing an important update, and you won't need to be bothered by alerts about those updates either. See also, best privacy extensions for Firefox browser. Take simple steps to protect your devices in addition to doing the obvious, like using antivirus software on every device. There are various simple steps you can take every day to protect yourself and your data. For example, using strong passwords that are hard to guess is always recommended, as doing so can help protect you against hackers. But you can go a step further by turning on multi-factor authentication whenever it is possible to do so. That way, it will be harder for hackers to get into your accounts. Even when it comes to emails you receive, it's necessary these days to be really careful about which messages you open and which links you click on. There are phishing scams that might trick you into clicking on a link in an email because you think it's from a legitimate company when in reality it isn't. So, before you follow any links, verify that the email is, in fact, real and trustworthy. And, of course, when it comes to browsing the World Wide Web, it is always wise to be cautious about the types of websites you visit and buy from. As you can see, there are many ways you can protect your devices, so go ahead and implement these strategies if you haven't done so already.
So, I think that's it for now. I can add the articles, the links to the description of this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all help to prevent this cyber attack, to end the war, and to save the maximum number of human lives and create a perfect society in which we all will live happily eternally. Universal peace now. Kiss for single ladies who'd like one. And see you all next time on Play on YouTube. I'm Ulrich Hoffman. Universal peace forever. Over and out.